So one of the most sought out things when you're learning guitar, and the thing that also tends to frustrate people the most, is getting to the point where you can have musical ideas in your head and then just seamlessly be able to translate them onto the instrument. Because once you get to that point, it's when you start to really feel like you're playing music and you're playing ideas that are in your head because you like how they might sound, versus just playing things because scale shapes or whatever dictate that you play that. And whenever I have a student that's getting to the point of wanting to do this stuff as opposed to just learning songs, I think one of the best things you can do to start off is learning chord progressions, which chords are going to fit together in different keys, being able to play them in any key, because apart from anything, it just trains your ear really well. And this is how guys like Rick Beato on his videos, where he'll listen to the top 10 Spotify pop songs and he'll just be able to play them in a matter of seconds, because he's internalized how these chord progressions sound and he knows how to play them on the guitar, and it's just effortless for him at this point. So what I'm going to do this lesson is show you how to play any major or minor chord progression in any key. As always, I've got a worksheet to accompany this that will be available for free, and as well as that, if you need any extra help, I do offer Zoom lessons, so you can book one of those if necessary. But let's get into it. So here's the worksheet, and for now we're just going to look at this top diagram up here, and you'll see there's 6 numbers. Well, there's numbers 1 through till 6. And there are technically 7 chords that belong to a key, but for now we're just going to worry about the first 6 because the 7th one is half diminished, and in the context of like rock, pop music, you don't tend to use it a whole lot, so just stick with these for now. So the numbers on this chart, they represent the root note of the chord and where you would play it. So for example, if I wanted to play my 1, I'm going to play it on the 5th fret for now. Then if I wanted to play my 4, I would play it up here on the A string. Then my 5 would be over here on the A string as well. Then back to my 1. Now this 1 is very important because it determines the key you're in. So in this case, because we're playing our 1 on the 5th fret of the E string, all these chords are going to belong to the key of A because this is an A note. Now if we look in the top right here, you can see I've written that black numbers are major bar chords and red numbers are minor bar chords. So if we take those notes we played just before, the 1, 4, and 5, because they're black numbers, we're going to build major bar chords from them. So from the 1, I would play my E shape, because that is my major bar chord shape of my root notes on the E string. And then for the 4, I'm going to play a major bar chord, but now I have to play this A shape, because that is how you play a major bar chord on the A string. I wouldn't use the E shape again, because it will give me the wrong chord. Okay, so I play that 4 chord as an A major bar chord shape, and then the 5 chord is a black number again, so I'm going to play a major bar chord. So I've got my 1 major, 4 major, and 5 major, and that would be my 1, 4, 5 chord progression. Now if we look at a few of these other chords, so if my 1's here, my 2 root note would be just 2 frets across on the 7th fret if we're in A, and I would play a minor bar chord for this one. So that would be my E minor bar chord shape like this. Now if I wanted to play my 3 chord, I have 2 options here. To get the exact same chord, I can go to this 3 over here and play a minor bar chord, that's going to work. Or I can go to this 3 over here and play the A minor bar chord shape, because the root note's now on the A string. And these 2 are the exact same chord. They're going to give me the same thing. Now the last chord, if my 1's here, is my 6th chord, so I can go back 3 frets and play it on the E string here to get my 6th chord, or I can go all the way up to this 9th fret on the A string and play the minor bar chord there. So those are all the 6 chords that would belong to my major key. Now let's just have a go at cycling through them a bit and listening. So if I play my 1 here on the 5th fret, I could play my 3 over here, I could play my 4 across 1 fret major chord, my 5 chord on that 7th fret, then I can go up 2 frets, play a minor chord to get my 6th chord, then my 3 chord right above that is a minor chord, my 2 chord, and then my 5 chord above that, major, and then back to my 1 chord. Now it's really important to note that once you memorize where these chords are relative to the 1, it's super easy to move to other keys. Let me show you. So let's say I wanted to play all these chords in a new key, like C. All I do is find a C note on the E string, which I know is the 8th fret, and then I build my 1 chord from that note. So now my 1 chord is C. Now everything else is the same relative to that. So if I wanted my 4 chord, I just go above on the A string, 4 chord, across 2 frets will give me my 5 chord. If I squeeze up here, get my 6 chord. Back to my 1. So if I played a 1, 3, 2, 5, I have my 1, my 3, my 2, my 5, and then 1. We'll try one more example. Let's say I wanted to play a chord progression in G. Just find a G note on the E string, which I know is the 3rd fret, and I play my 1 chord there. Then if I wanted my 4, just go above, 5, 1. If I wanted my 3 chord, here. If I wanted my 2 chord, could go here, 5, 1. So once you map out where all those chords are relative to the 1, and you remember the tonal quality of them, it becomes very easy to just shift this stuff to different keys. Now the next diagram is the exact same idea, but it's if our 1 chord is built from a root note on the A string as opposed to the E string. Now the reason why that's helpful is because if I'm in a key like D, I might not want to have to play my 1 chord all the way up here on this D note on the E string, which is all the way up at the 10th fret, because then it becomes pretty cramped if I start trying to play some of my other chords up there. So what I can do instead is take this one over here and line it up with the D note on the A string, which would be the 5th fret. Then I just play my major bar chord shape for the A string, and then my 4 will now be back here on the E string, then my 5 will be up here on the E string, playing major shapes, and then back to my 1. Right, exact same chords as up here, as if I went 1, 4, 5, using the first diagram, but here I can play it in a more neutral spot on the guitar. And all those other minor chords, it's the exact same thing. You know, if my 1's here, my 2's now going to be here, my 3's over here or over here. I have 2 options there. My 4's here, my 6's here, my 1 back over here. So that's really useful if you're playing any keys where the root note's above the 7th fret, to give a general idea, because chords tend to feel a bit better, more centered on the guitar. Now this last diagram down here, it's just both of those diagrams laid over one another so that you can see where all of these chords are relative to each other across the whole fretboard. So if we were to go through this a bit, so let's say we're back in A, I have my 1 chord on this 5th fret here, then I could go up to this 4 over here, then this 5 over here, then I could go to the 6 up here, and then you'll notice my second diagram's kind of beginning over here. I have my 1 chord up here again, and then I could have my 4 back here, my 5 over here, and then if I wanted to really, I'm not going to be able to do this, play a minor bar chord up there, 6, and then back to my 1, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 6, 1. So once you're familiar with those first 2 diagrams, try playing them both together, try going all the way up the fretboard and all the way back down, playing through a few of these chords. Now the next sheet is the exact same idea, but if we're playing minor chord progressions as opposed to major ones. And if it's black, you play a major chord. If it's red, you play a minor chord. And I know it looks a bit confusing with these flat 7s, flat 6s, flat 3s, all that. You don't worry about it too much. All it is because these chords are built from root notes in the minor scale, which has a flattened 3rd, 6th, and 7th scale degree. That's what we would also call the chord, because it's built off those scale degrees. But if you just memorize where they are relative to the 1, that's fine. You don't need to understand why they're called that necessarily for now. So the root notes for the 1, 4, and 5 are the exact same in the minor key and the major key. The only thing that changes is now the chord we play from it. So instead of doing a major chord for those, we're going to play minor chords. So 1, 4, 5, 1. Like that. That would be a minor 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5, 1. Pretty straightforward. And just a quick side note, the reason why the 2 isn't in this minor chord harmony is because in minor keys, that is the diminished chord. So now we have a flat 7 or a 7 chord instead. And the way we play that flat 7 is if our 1's on the 5th fret, we go back 2 frets, play a major bar chord, go back 2 more frets, get our flat 6 chord, back to flat 7, 1. Then we have again our 4, 5 up here. We could play a flat 6 on this note here, next to the 5. Then we have a flat 3 here, and then back to our 1. Or we can play our flat 3 here on the A string. 1, 4, 5, flat 6, 1. And the next diagram is the exact same idea as with the major chords. It's just if our one chord is built from the A string instead of the E string. So if we're in a key like D minor, I'm now going to play the 5th fret on the A string and play my one chord there. Then my 4 chord will be back here on the E string, 3rd fret. And then my 5 chord will be on the 5th fret as a minor bar chord 2. Then back to my 1. Now my flat 7 is back here, major. Flat 6 back here, major. Flat 3 up here. 4, 5, flat 6 over here, major. Flat 7 up here, back to my 1. And again, wherever you line up the 1 chord, that's going to dictate the key you're in. So if I wanted to play a 1, 4, 5 in E minor, I find an E note on the A string, so the 7th fret, and I'll play my minor chord here. Then if I wanted my 4 chord, I'd go here, 2 frets back and on the E string, then my 5 chord over here, and then 1, flat 7 back here, flat 6 here, flat 7, 1. Now the last diagram, just like before, is both of those laid on top of each other. So if I were to cover a bit more of the fretboard in A, for example, I'd go 1 over here, then I could go 4 up like this, then 5, and flat 6, flat 7 all the way up here, and then I reach my 1 again. And this is kind of the second diagram, right? Because I have my 4 back here, 5 over here, 1, flat 7, flat 6, 5, 4, flat 3, flat 7, 1. So hopefully it's relatively clear now on how to use that diagram. And I can't stress how important it is that you put this stuff into practice and actually play through some of these chord progressions, because it develops your ear in such a good way, and you start to hear these things just in music. You'll be listening to a song and be like, oh, that's like 1, 5, 6, 4, or that's 1, flat 7, flat 6, and things start to get really fun when you get to that point. So hopefully that was helpful, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below and I'll help you out. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.